Origi! Yeah! Unbelievable!
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast. We've just beaten Spurs 4-2 in a weird game at Anfield in which it looked like we were going to hit 6 or 7 and get payback for what happened at their place earlier in the season. And then it looked like we might blow a 4-goal lead. Spurs got 2 back and could easily have had more. In the end, we got the points and we can now finish no lower than 3rd and whisper it, technically we're still not out of the title race. I'm Dave Usher, editor at liverpoolway.co.uk, and I'm joined for this one by Paul Natton. So Paul, I don't know about you, but I came out of that feeling not as happy as it probably should have been, considering like how good it was for so long. Just felt like balloon got popped a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah,
like just the way
I
it finished.
know what you mean. It was a strange one, really. I wanted a performance and I wanted goals, and broadly speaking, we got that till about 70 minutes. I thought the first 5, maybe 10 minutes were weird because they seemed to have the ball for ages.
Yeah.
It was strange, really. But then we settled, we played well. Everyone seemed to be. I mean, it looked to me like it almost seemed confirmation to me that what we've been saying about the weight of expectation being on them and being too much for them was borne out by what we saw, because they seemed to play with they looked relaxed.
Yeah. There
was a freedom to them. They did that kind of weight of the world on the shoulders that we've seen over the last few weeks was just absolutely gone. I thought pretty much everyone to a man played either well or very well. Obviously some players were better than others. I thought Harvey was sensational. I thought Quansah really good.
Yeah.
I thought Mo was decent. I thought Trent was good. Maka was okay, but no one had a bad. I don't think anyone had a bad game. I thought they were all decent, and then the first couple of goals go in, including Robbo scoring for the second game on the bounce, which is with his right foot as well, which was mad. Fine and really enjoyable, and then it just took the shine off a little bit when, obviously Richarlison got booed to fuck when he came on, before he came on, in fact.
Yeah.
The blue and white shite chants were going right off even while he was warming up. And then I just thought, he's going to be super motivated here. But we just, I don't know, lots of changes, quite a few changes that happened. I mean, I think Brownie's just put in the chat a minute ago about Bajcetic, who was well off the pace, and he was. Said? Yeah.
He said it's like turning up on a motorway on your bike.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think having seen him at Anfield today, I think he's right. I think Bajcetic was he did turn up on his bike. It did take the shine off a little bit, because what I wanted that clean sheet. We got a few goals, and I wanted the clean sheet as much as the goals, because that's another big question that's been hanging over us.
Yeah. So
I was a little bit pissed off. I mean, it hasn't totally soured the afternoon or anything but I don't know. It just, I suppose what it does is it's more confirmation that we are a work in progress as a new squad, really, and we are where we probably deserve to be. I think we're the 3rd best team in the league this season. And really have never been serious title contenders in the way that the current top 2 are. Even despite the fact that we were in a really good position, 6 weeks ago. So I suppose in some ways I felt quite positive, because it felt like, as I said, the weight was off and we played well. But in another way, it was almost confirmation that we're a little bit off the pace. This is the real Liverpool, and there's a piece of work for Arne Slot to do when he arrives. I mean, it was enjoyable, some good goals, but I'm with you. It just took the shine off a bit, didn't it?
It's not even just that they scored 2 goals, because that could happen while we were still playing well and on top, and they just get like 2 chances and score 2 goals. The thing that took the shine off for me was like they could easily have got more than 2.
Yeah, that's true.
They looked like they were going to score every time they went forward.
That's true.
A lot's being made of our substitutions and how it affected the game. I also think like the change that they made, as you said, with Richarlison coming on, he was good, to be fair. You know, I can't stand him, but he was good. He made a difference. But the real thing was Son going over to the left wing. And,
totally transformed them, didn't
he
it?
was fucking like completely on a mission.
Like a different player.
He was
I thought, where have you been all game?
He was like, give me the fucking ball. I'm just going to go, and I'm going past 3 players. I'm running into the box, and you're not going to stop me. And he was just causing mayhem every time he got the ball. So, like, I do think their tactical change made a difference. But I also came out thinking, why didn't they start like that? Why did he have Richarlison on the bench, and why did he start the way he did? Because if they'd started with that lineup, maybe in a totally different game, because I thought they were terrible. I thought they were so easy to play against, and I felt like that was really easy for us. And 4-0 was like that was the minimum that we should have had based on like opportunities that we created and good situations. I thought they were so easy to play against.
Agreed. There's something very Emperor's New Clothes about Ange Ball, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just thinking, what the fuck? I mean, you know, there's a reason why people don't do what you're doing. Because it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, like, it's really, really bizarre. It's funny, that point you made about why did they start with Richarlison. I had the 5 Live phone in on the way home, just in the car as I was driving home. And, you know, there's Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, and, you know, they wind each other up, and they're trying to get people to call managers pricks and all the rest of it, you know what I mean? They're looking for controversy. But you do get the authentic voice of fans who've been to the game, and there was basically a succession of Spurs fans coming on to say that they're not buying Postecoglou at all, and a succession of Reds also following up and saying Spurs are bizarre, like it's just mad that they play the way they play, that basically the shit. The first lad who came on, a Spurs fan, no, he was a Red actually, he was a Liverpool fan. The first lad who came on started off by saying, why didn't they start with Richarlison up front? You know, he's a former Everton fan. He's clearly fired up every time he plays against Liverpool. And look how he played, look how he performed when he came on. Also, playing Son through the middle doesn't really work. That's not his game. When he goes wide, he's far more effective. Look how Son played after Richarlison came on. And yeah, it just seems like, I don't know what Postecoglou was thinking. It's just, it's bizarre. It's like he thinks he's, I don't know, it's strange, like he thinks he's smarter than like everybody else, and is doing, if he does this thing that everyone else can see doesn't work, somehow by sheer force of will it will work. I mean, I was chatting, I think I mentioned it briefly to you as we were walking up. I was chatting in more depth to some of the lads in the pub before you arrived. I listened to a podcast, I can't remember which one, in the last couple of days, and there was a journalist on there. They were talking about this game. It was like a preview of this game, and the journalist was making the point that this whole like Postecoglou being this great guy and this great fella, in actual fact, he's starting to, not only is he starting to lose the fans, he's starting to lose some of the journalists as well, because he's a bit snide in press conferences, and he's trying to make some of the journalists look pricks when they ask him a question. And he's being asked legitimate questions about this type of football because they're throwing in all these results. They're on 4 defeats on the bounce, and they're playing City next, and they keep playing this crazy style of footy, where they basically just leave the back door wide open and push this really high line and just look completely disorganised. And he just seems to be wanting to double down on it all. Basically his view is that the players don't do it enough. They need to push even higher. I mean, yeah, that works in terms of when you're Jurgen Klopp and the way we play, but he's dealing with a different calibre of player. And also Klopp is nowhere near as gung-ho as the way Postecoglou's football is. He's starting to look like a fella under a lot of pressure. And Spurs look to me like the players don't really believe in what he's asking them to do. He's had the best part of a season to get them to buy in, and I don't really think they buy in.
I just think they're ungrateful bastards, them Spurs players. I mean, he led them to the title in fucking September, and now look at them. They're on the pitch with the kids. They were on the pitch, walking around the pitch at the end of the game with the fucking kids in September, and now, what, they're not buying into the manager's methods? Ungrateful bastards.
I wonder where you're going with that for a minute, Dave. Yeah.
They had the kids on the pitch, Paul.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's a joke. They're a strange team, and I mean, I just thought 4-0 it didn't flatter, did it? 4-0 when we were 4-0 up, but then as we said, the changes made the difference.
Yeah, it was the changes were. Like, my dad was fuming. Like, my dad's like proper old school, and he's like, you only make changes if you're getting beaten. You need to change it. If it's going well, you leave it as it is. And I was like, yeah, but there's nothing to play for. We're 4-0 up. If you can't give people a chance to play at that point, you know, when are you going to do it? And he's like, when you're getting beat, or if you're drawing and you need to change it. But like, in fairness, he didn't like it when they made the changes. He was moaning then, so it wasn't like hindsight afterwards. He didn't want us to make the changes. We made the changes, and then he just kept going on about like, this is because of the changes. You don't change it when it's going well. Yeah, I mean, I sort of had like some sympathy for his point of view. He was like, I was really enjoying that game, and he fucking ruined it by bringing the subs. I'm like, yeah, it was great. Like when Harvey scored that goal, I was proper like on cloud nine, just made up for Harvey, and then it ends like that because just the way it like, and then, you know, personally for me as well, it ends with like Darwin missing a fucking 1v1, so that just totally ruined my day as well. Like, so just should be happier than I am really, I suppose, but I just felt like just a bit deflated coming out. But
it feels in keeping with this end of the season in a way, doesn't it? Like it kind of like it does kind of seem it does kind of fit the mood, and I suppose in a way what I hope it like augurs well for the last couple of games, and that, you know, we got the win, we scored some goals, played some decent football, but we're still a flawed team, and hopefully but what we'll see over these last couple of games, you know, away to Villa and then at home to Wolves on the last day of the season is you know, a send off that Jurgen deserves. That's all that's left to play for, isn't it? And you know, that's really all I care about at this stage now, is that he just gets that send off, and we play some decent footy, and then we can all start thinking about what follows.
Villa don't play too dissimilar to Spurs either. Really high line, playing
and
off
in a similarly strange run of form, aren't they, at the moment as well?
Yeah. I mean, they won at Arsenal, and then they just got beat by Brighton, who haven't beaten anybody for about 6 months.
Yeah. They're up and down. They seem to be up and down at the moment, Phil. Let me just have a look at their run of. Yeah, they've had a lost, drawn, 1-1, drawn, lost.
I think the win at Arsenal pretty much. It didn't guarantee them like fourth spot, but it made it like highly likely that they were going to get fourth, especially because of the fixtures that Spurs had left.
Yeah,
you know, Spurs had to play Arsenal, us, and Man City, so Villa probably knew. Yeah, they've secured top four, so maybe like they've eased off a little bit there, but they're not on the beach as much as West Ham are. And it just makes it even worse that we didn't beat them last week when you look at what they've been doing like the last few weeks. Just Moyes is going, and like they've just, you know, they're just playing out the season now. They don't give a shit anymore. But it's good to see that like we've not let it just go out with a total whimper. You know, we got the points today, scored 4 goals, and I do think the next 2 games, I think we'll play with some freedom and that, and I think maybe all that tension's gone now, and I just want to see them just enjoying themselves again.
Definitely.
You know, forget all of this like nervous shit that we've been seeing, and you know, like panicking in different situations. Just fucking relax and just go out and play.
Especially the lads who still haven't quite found their feet. You know what I mean? There's a few of them I'd like to see. I mean, obviously I want Darwin to get some goals. Want to get him on the score sheet. But I'd like to see Gravenberch,
Szoboszlai,
you know, do well. Szoboszlai do well. Yeah, these players who've come in and haven't. I'd like Diaz to get one as well.
Gakpo as well. He's doing better now, but you still want to see him like establish himself more.
Definitely.
Today was a good step forward for him, I thought.
There is something strange about these lads who've all come in over the last couple of years, and I do wonder if it is the scale of the club, because you look at how Quansah has come in, and absolutely just settled.
He's fucking brilliant.
Brilliantly. He is superb. He is absolutely superb. I mean, for me, we've already replaced Joel Matip.
Well, just a quick point there, Paul. Something that I wanted to say about Quansah. I may as well do it now, and then you can carry on.
Yeah, sure.
But Quansah today, you know, we're not playing 2 games a week. We've had like a full week of training. So the team that was picked today was a team picked on merit, based on performances in games and in training. And Quansah was picked ahead of Kanate. And is anyone even remotely thinking, oh, don't know about that? Like, Quansah's name's on the team sheet, and I was like, yeah, I would have done that as well. Yeah, I would have picked him, and then he performed like that.
Yeah, he was really good, and what I like is that he seems to have, he strikes me that he's really watched both Virgil and Matip in his game. So if you watch, you know the way Virgil does that pass where he sort of like, you know, he knocks it across the back foot and he almost like swings his leg, and it's really, he stays on his standing leg, and he like there's like a big sweep of the foot that he's passing it with. Quansah's almost like mirroring that pass.
Yeah. And he's doing the Maisie runs.
But he's doing the Joel Maisie run as well. Also very, very calm, like preternaturally calm. Like, very strange to see someone who his decision making in potentially pressured moments is so sharp and on point.
I said that a few weeks ago, though. He might be the calmest footballer I've ever seen. You know, considering his age.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's ridiculous how his whole demeanour, everything about him is just, he's on an even keel the whole time. There's no highs or lows. He's just always the same. And he's made one mistake this season, really. I can't think of anything else he's done wrong other than that one pass away at United. Other than that, I think he's had an absolutely sensational season. So much better than any of us could have expected him to be.
I mean, none of us saw it coming, did we?
No.
He just seemed to be like, you know, he obviously went away. Do you know, I didn't even get onto, I mean, I know he, even at pre-season time, I know he, and obviously we know he travelled and he was part of the squad and what have you, but it didn't even sort of really cross my radar that he'd be even sort of in and around the squad, and never mind become so significant. I think he's got over 30 appearances, hasn't he, this season? That's incredible.
I think we thought he'd be a League Cup player and maybe the Europa League game, which is how it started.
Absolutely.
And he performed so well.
Of course, he has been brilliant. We were just, as you know, just for listeners, like John B and Chris were over for the game today. So John lives and works in Paris, and Chris obviously over in Florida, and they were both over for the game, and we met up in the pub beforehand to having a chat. And John was talking about, obviously the talk went on to issue, you know, beyond this season, and we were thinking about, you know, what happens with the squad, what will Slot do, who you know, what will the club do in terms of bringing players in or moving players on. And John was talking about sort of very minor low-key rumblings in France that Kanate might want to go back to PSG. You know, he's a Paris lad. He supported PSG as a boy, and I like Kanate. I really do like him. I like him as a player. But I think the point John was making, and I do agree with this, is that he's just not reliable in terms of his fitness. And certainly, I'm looking at Quansah and Kanate, and I don't see, they're different players, obviously, but I don't see like a huge gulf between them in terms of quality. You know, I think in terms of, you know, that kind of like dominant front foot defending, I think I would put Kanate just a little bit above Jarell Quansah, but Quansah offers other qualities which I think, you know,
his range of passing.
Yeah, he's and also that calmness. He's in some ways he's superior to Kanate, and I think for the right offer, mind you, I think you could say this about a lot of players in the squad at the moment. Although I'm not advocating a clear out in any sense, and also there's no one who I think has to go either. I'd be quite happy to see any of these players here next season.
Yeah. Well, I want to have that conversation like when we've spoken about the game. We'll revisit that.
Yeah, sound. But John floated this that it might actually be a possibility, and you know, I wouldn't. That doesn't alarm me at all. I mean, I think it looks like we're going to need a centre half this summer anyway.
Well, we'd need 2 if we moved him
So
on.
we would
I'm
need
dead
to,
set against that idea. Just don't want to go on the record there.
Well, maybe we'll come back to that later rather than get sidetracked on that now.
I get with
just
the
thought
injuries, but I also think if you're only playing him once a week and so you can't play him twice a week, well, that's not a big deal if you've got other players who can come in. So
true.
It wouldn't concern me that much.
I suppose, I mean, like I said, I don't think there's anybody who I want gone. So I don't.
Same.
I just think it's quite intriguing, quite an intriguing idea. And he's first choice for France, and it just makes you think, what if you got like an offer you couldn't refuse that allows you to do something else?
So we need Dan on here, don't we? Dan will be fuming. He's missed his moment there.
Yeah, so let's come back to today. I mean, I thought Trent played really well. I thought Robbo was great. I thought, the starting 11, I was quite happy with all of them really. There was the whole start of the 11 players that started the game. I think Maka was probably the least impressive without actually having a bad game.
Yeah, I thought he was quietish.
Yeah, I think quiet's probably is the right word. Quiet rather than poor.
Yeah,
just quiet. And I get the sense with Maka as well that I just think there's quite a few miles on the legs this season for him, and I think he seems to be tiring a little bit, doesn't he? So just all round should have come away absolutely buzzing really, and wasn't quite. So I'm with you on that one.
So I want to talk about Mo, because I thought today he looked like the Mo before his injury.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say, he's brilliant. I don't think he was brilliant before the injury. He's kind of like now. I was thinking like that Gattuso quote just makes me think of Mo now. Where it's like sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. So like when he gets the ball, it's like, this could be really good now, or it could just be really shit, and it's a lottery. You don't really know what it's going to be. But I thought that's what he was like before his injury, and then after the injury, it was just mostly shit. But today, it was like the best he's looked in since he's come back. Really, that's not to say everything he did was great. He still had some terrible moments, but he had
a good game overall. Didn't
he did. He looked like himself again.
Absolutely. I wonder whether again, this is another one we had a long conversation about in the pub, and where we go with Mo. I wonder if I think a new manager coming in means that you want him to kind of make his own judgments about all these players, and I think he's going to be introducing. For all that there's parallels with Klopp, he's going to be introducing a slightly different tactical plan. And I've not heard many other people say this, and I'll probably be on my own with this one, but I wonder if there's a role for Mo coming inside into that number 10 position that Slot uses.
I've seen a few people suggesting that on the forum and that. Yeah.
Have you? Yeah. I think Slot likes that player to be a little bit more of someone who can drop even deeper. But I just think the way Mo's passing, I think the one thing that's gone exponentially better this season, noticeably so and consistently so, is his passing and his picking other players out. And I think, as maybe the pace dips a little bit, putting him there where he doesn't have to be through on goal all the time but can break, he can also pick a pass. That might be something to look at. But I agree with your summary of Mo's game there, Dave. I think that resonates. That to say it looked like before the injury, not great but largely good. Not everything comes off. What was it? Sometimes good, sometimes shit.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Agreed. But he did seem, he seemed fired up, and he obviously, he's as competitive as ever.
After last week, you've got to put in a performance, haven't you?
You have, yeah, absolutely, you have. I was just gutted that the offside for the one that Darwin squared for him.
Yeah, I've not seen that one back. But there was some weird shenanigans with the offsides today. There was one when Diaz went through, and I think they've changed how they do this now, because the referee blew for the whistle before the linesman's flag went up, and I've noticed that a few times this season. So the linesman must be saying in his headset it's offside, and then he's putting his flag up. But why is it, that was a close one with Diaz? Why are you putting your flag up and stop and play instead of letting him run through? And then a few minutes later, there was one with Spurs. They went through, and I think like the Alisson made a save from I think it was from Son, and then the flag went up, and I'm like, well, why is like the flag going up in one instance, and then the other one you're letting it play out? So just some strange things, and like the fact that the referee's like blowing for offside before the flag's even gone up, that's something that must be happening now, where they're actually saying it before they put the flag up.
I mean, I just think it's all, I mean, I won't go too deep into this, but it's all just consistent with the whole issue of refereeing, the crisis in refereeing that we've got.
Don't know what's going on.
No, they don't, and I think that you know, they get a new directive every week about how to referee the game. You know, it chops and changes on a week-to-week basis. They're reacting to they're still trying to avoid throwing each other under the bus in terms of VAR. It's just really, really poor. Really, and there's constant changes in terms of the emphasis of the game, changes to the handball law and the way offside is judged, and to what extent VAR gets involved in offside, and just all of it's just a complete fucking mess. And I just think the lack of consistency and quality in refereeing is absolutely glaring. There's no one, I don't think, who expects anything other than that at the moment, though, is there? I mean, refereeing it's probably in its worst crisis of my lifetime as a football fan, really. I don't remember refereeing ever being in crisis like this before to this extent.
Did you see the stats that the PGMOL put out this week?
No, what's that?
Saying like that it's at an all-time high, and 90% of decisions have been correct or something like that.
Jesus Christ.
But the whole thing's just bollocks anyway, because when like referees are not making decisions, I mean, the king of that is Anthony Taylor. He just lets stuff go, doesn't give anything.
Yeah.
Because he's not given a decision, that's not counted in those stats. So like the 3 penalties he didn't give Forest against Everton are not counted as like incorrect decisions because it was a non-decision. But yeah, so there's all the spins coming out. But 78 minutes it was today before I got to like stand up and scream, "You fucking cheating baldy mank twat" at Paul Natton. 78 minutes. And you know the funny thing is, I can't even remember what I was shouting at now. I don't even know what it was. It was some decision, and I just leapt up and I was giving it loads. And I sat down, I said to my dad, I was like, "What to wait 78 minutes for that?" But it was fucking worth it. But yeah, I don't even know what it was. Some listeners will probably like remember, but something happened around 78 minutes in, and that set me off. But yeah, I don't know what it was. But yeah, back to Mo. So he gets the first goal. I haven't seen it back. I just remember Gakpo's put a nice ball to the back post.
Mo's run's good as well. I mean, it's a good ball, and it's a really good run.
I didn't celebrate because I just thought, it might be offside. I jumped up and then I was like, oh, this could be offside. You know, one of them when they come round the back post and you just
miles on.
From where I'm sitting, there's no way I could see that. Like, and I just fear the worst because you're celebrating and then it comes up VAR check and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I just didn't even really like get involved too much. And then you've got George giving the goal to Endo.
And that was mad.
And I was like, what happened? Because I seen Mo head it and I thought, did it hit the post and come out and it's maybe hit Endo and gone in? Because I didn't see the ball going in. I just seen Mo arriving at the back post, and the next thing, like, everyone's like up celebrating, but I didn't see the ball go in, so I didn't really know what happened. And then George is giving it to Endo. And then has to correct himself. he's going like the first goal for Liverpool is Wataru Endo, while Mo's like doing his like celebration. You know, like, he's on all fours doing his celebration, and I'm like, what's going on here? But
and then he corrects himself about 20 seconds later.
But no, I haven't seen that one back. All I can remember on that goal was it was nice play by Gakpo cutting in and put a dangerous ball in.
Yeah,
did we have one just really before good. That similar ball to the back post and Mo came in and I don't know if like I don't know, there was something not, because it was we were having a lot of joy there, and there was another chance. Mo got played in, keeper made the save, and then Harvey's got on the rebound, and Romero's chested it off the line.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, we were getting quite a bit of joy down that right hand side.
I mean, I think. Yeah, I thought it was a really good goal. I thought the ball from Gakpo was superb. It was into the perfect space, really, and Mo timed his run brilliantly. They have no chance, really, with either the pass or the header. I just thought it was a really, really good goal. And And I mean, I thought the second one was good as well, though, didn't you? I mean, even though it came from
the move was good.
Yeah, the move was really good. Robbo, I think did Trent.
I think it started with Trent. I think Trent played the ball in from the right.
Yeah,
Comes to Robbo and he squares it, and then
he squares it to Mo, who has a shot, and then he just Robbo follows it in, and scores with his right.
Yeah,
taps it in with his right. 2 games on the bounce, brilliant.
Too. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe we should have been letting Robbo get further forward in all these games where we couldn't score. And here's me, like for years I've been saying like it should be in his contract. He's not allowed to shoot. I don't mind him taking shots like that one today. You know, it's when like just the other shots and you're like, yeah, you're never going to score there, Robbo.
yeah. So that was, I mean, to me that goal was and the move around it was consistent with the encouraging way that we were playing going forward. I thought we were just knocking it around nicely. There was good movement. It was coherence. You know, everyone seemed to understand what was expected of them. Which, I mean, it sounds like I'm damning them with faint praise. But if you think about how we've been playing over the last month or so, it's not at all. We've been playing like complete strangers for the last month. So I felt well. Both those goals really were really good. What was that? It was quite late on. Was it nearly 40? It was about 38, 39 minutes. Or was it later than that?
It was late in the half and all that. I don't know exactly what minute. Did you not think that Trent seemed to spend more time at right back today?
Yeah, he did. He didn't really invert that much, did he? Klopp said something. Either immediately after the game or in the press conference. I think it was immediately after the game about. Something about the right side. He talked about Harvey. He was asked a question. I think it was the press conference. He was asked a question about Harvey, and then he wanted to say. Obviously, then he responded to that and said Harvey played really, really well. And then he said he then went to great. He was at pains to say Mo was also great, and then that he started talking about the right hand side, and then he said Trent as well, and then he said, and Trent now is starting to understand where he needs to be when, making the right decisions about when to stay wide, when to come inside. Excuse me. So it was almost like Klopp was saying that, like, rather than following instructions previously, Trent has been finding his feet in the role, and the whole, when we see him more inverted, it's not so much that they're telling him to stay inverted, it's that he's got to read the game and know when to invert.
Trent said that himself, though. He said it's up to him to see the flow of the game and where the space is.
Right.
So sometimes that's dropping into centre half to get on the ball. Sometimes it's going into midfield. Sometimes the space is on the right. So he's generally given licence to just decide that for himself.
Right. Well, Klopp made a point in his press conference today where he said that Trent is getting that. He's sort of getting that better now. His understanding of when to be where is becoming better. And I agree. Like, I thought he did stay. He stayed broadly right, didn't he, today? Came inside a couple of times, but not very often. It was more playing out on the right.
Yeah. He had a couple of good defensive moments as well. Did you see? There's one, and Virgil went over to him and was like really encouraging him and like telling him well done. It's like, and I think that's what they need to do. Make him like feel like defending's fun, and he's going to get praised for doing it.
I mean, do you know on that note, not so much about that specific point you just made, make him feel defending's fun, but I think they've been slow to support each other, give each other moral support over this last period. I've seen there's a lot of moments where players are having a mare and no one's talking to each other. There's been a real sort of lack of communication amongst it. They all seem to be like they get lost in their own little. They all seem to be lost in their own little world, and they're all sort of feeling sorry for themselves. And what we've not seen is players geeing each other up and saying, "Get your chin up, come on, dig deep," or bollocking each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's all been missing. That
they've just been giving each other side eyes rather than
definitely
people pointing fingers at each other and feeling sorry for themselves. And it's not.
I do think as this squad develops, we need to see one or two others sort of take on that very vocal leadership mantle on the pitch, regardless of whether they're wearing the armband or they're the vice captain or whatever, or even if they're part of the leadership group. We need to. I think I said the other day, Robbo's very vocal, and I think we've missed that quite a lot over the last few, the months when he was out injured. But we need others too as well. Trent might not be a natural talker, but he needs to become one, because that's what's required of this squad. He's a very experienced player now. He's won everything in the game. Doesn't matter that he's only 25. or 26, whatever he is, not quite, just coming into his prime. In terms of his stature at the club and his stature in Wales football, he needs to be the fella who's taking that sort of responsibility and getting into all the players' heads. I think not everyone's going to lead in the way that Hendo led by absolutely ripping people and bollocking them. But it'd be nice if we had
that. You've either got it or you haven't.
That's right. Although Hendo didn't always have that. You remember what he was like when Kenny first brought him in. He did have that to his game. Yeah, he was. But players have to actively develop those elements of the character, I think, and if it's required of them, they've got to start delivering on that. So I want to see a couple more players become more vocal like that and start really demanding more of their teammates and telling people what's what if they're not delivering.
Not enough bastards in that team. They're all
That's
just
right.
like nice.
And actually, on that broader point, I said to Eddie, who sits next to me, he to my right. I mean, I think he's maybe just a couple of years older than your dad. He's been going. He's done 70 years, going 70 seasons. I think last season was his 70th season, or is it this? So he's been going a long time. And I said to him, well, I don't want us to become. I think. Do you know what it was? It was. Do you know when their player, I can't remember who it was, got booked for not retreating from the free kick?
Yeah.
And I think, was it Trent hit it against him? And he didn't retreat to start with. The ref told him to move, and then Trent went to take it quickly, and it hit him in the back because he hadn't got back quick enough, and he was finally booked. And I said to Eddie next to me, I don't want us to become like a team full of snides. I don't want us to become a team full of cheats, but I do want us to be a little bit more sort of professionally cynical. You know what I mean? You look at the way Arsenal and City are constantly talking to the referee and surrounding the referee when there's a dodgy decision. The way they're asking things of the referee, the way they're prepared to just be slightly more cynical. I think that we're too nice at times. And in some ways, that's what I find so ironic about the fact that Klopp has this reputation amongst referees as being an absolute twat. Mm-hmm. Because actually the way he asks his team to play, it's the cleanest that any team, it's the least cynical of any team out there. They in every element of how they play the game, they don't get in referees' faces, they're not giving referees loads of shit. They don't do all the cynical tricks of diving and all the rest of it and trying to con people. And I just think I don't want us to go the full City, but I do want to see a little bit more of that. There's times where you have to be like that sometimes, because I think some referees only respond when they're put under pressure by teams.
Yeah. Well, that you said there about with the free kick, there was two of those in the first half. One was Trent and one was Endo, and they could have done that. They could have just, if the Spurs player wasn't moving, and instead of just hitting it at them, they waited, and then eventually took the free kick when all the advantage had gone. And as a fella behind me was shouting, with the Endo one especially, he's like, just fucking kick it at him. If he's not backing away, just kick it at him. And we don't tend to do that. You're right. And then when we did do it, that gets a yellow card. Whereas, if it's the same player and he's done it in the first half, yeah, they'd have been down to 10. But I thought Basuma got 2 yellow cards. Obviously he didn't, but
he bottled the second late in the game, didn't he? There was something. What was it late in the game where he
got booked for throwing the ball down on the pitch, and I thought he's already been booked before that. But
no, but I think there was something after that where he was already on the yellow, and then the referee looked at him and didn't book him, and I thought you just bottled sending him off there. I can't remember what it was.
Maybe it was in the 78th minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got no idea what that was. I just know I lost my shit. Let's get back to the goals anyway.
Where are we? Third, aren't we?
Yeah, the third was the Gakpo header, which was just brilliant from Harvey.
Lovely ball.
I think the ball's played, and Mo tries to take it first time around the defender. He tries to flick it with the outside of his boot on the volley, and he hits the defender, I think, and he gets held up, and Harvey's supporting, and then the ball breaks to him, doesn't it? And then I was screaming, back stick, because Diaz was coming in, and I think that's who he was looking for. He's floating it to the back, and Diaz is coming in on it, but Gakpo seemed to just grow about 4 feet and get his head to it, because I thought that was going right over his head and perfect for Diaz.
He hung, didn't he? I thought he hung in the air. He really stayed up there. Yeah,
really
it was great. It was great, and perfectly placed. It was in exactly the right position It was. He's having a slight little purple patch, isn't he? It bodes well, really. He's just Gakpo. He's definitely, his game is something positive has happened to his game in the last few weeks, which it seems
the low point
counter to what everyone else is doing.
Old Trafford, wasn't it? I think in the cup game, he come on as a sub and he was awful. Remember that was the low point, and then ever since then, he just seems to have. It's like something happened to him that day, and he's like, it gave him like a kick up the arse. He's just had more aggression. And he's not as passive as he was. He just he's doing things a bit quicker, and there's more aggression to what he's doing.
Imposing himself more, isn't he? Because he has got the physical attributes to be far more imposing than he has been.
Yeah. I know he plays like a 5'7" player. Yeah. You know, he's like wanting it to feet and like quick feet and stuff like that. I'm like, you can do that, but I want to see you be a bit like more physical and strong.
The other thing that occurs is that there is that old cliche about players taking time to adapt to the intensity of English football, and while that is a cliche, it's also a truism that some players, it does take them a while to realise what it requires of them physically. You know, it's not just about the football. There is an expectation of what you deliver. You know, I think in a very different way. We're seeing Harvey make similar adjustments this season. That Harvey has obviously done a lot of work in the gym to improve his core strength.
Yeah.
And I think he's now better able to cope with the physical demands of the game. And maybe what Gakpo needed, because Gakpo, was a big lad. He's not somebody who particularly needed to add an extra dimension to his physical attributes. But
no, he just needed aggression. He didn't need any work on his physique. He just needed to be more aggressive. Yeah, because he's too nice. He's just such a nice lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
But no, he's definitely stepped up with like the intensity in his play, and he's not as passive. And that was a good game from him today.
Yeah, I mean, we want to see more, don't we? I think. Yeah. But he seems to be just gently moving in the right direction, which, he hasn't ripped up any trees, but certainly what I'm seeing now is that there's like an upward turn in his performances, and for me, it's the point you just made there. It's the better application of his physique and his intensity, which is what's impressing at the moment. Because the talent was always clear, you could always see his talent, but now he's sort of he's now beginning to impose that on games, which is good. It's what we want to see.
Before he scored the fourth, like even before that, this is none of what I'm about to say is a reaction to the fact he scored a worldie. Like after he played that cross for Gakpo's goal, and I said to me dad, I was like, 'cause at half time I was like, Quansah's been the best player on the pitch here, but I did think Harvey was like right behind him. I thought in the first half he set the tone with like pressing and that, it's not always like you winning the ball. I was talking to a couple of the lads downstairs at half time, like Steve and Ralph, and Steve was making the point, which is right. Like a lot of the time Harvey's not winning that ball, but he's forcing them to play a pass under pressure, and then either somebody else wins it or that player's then having to like play it under more pressure and then we win it. But it all starts from the fact that Harvey's put someone under pressure, and I thought he was doing that all first half, as well as like he was good on the ball as you'd expect. I just felt like he gave us like a lot of energy and really helped with the tempo, which he's done that loads this season, but it's usually coming off the bench. But I felt like he was helping the tempo all game, really.
Agreed.
And the second half, with just like the quality on the ball as well. Brilliant assist for Gakpo, and then fantastic strike for the fourth.
Might be his best performance, do you think? Maybe his best performance for Liverpool?
Maybe, I don't know. I think he's had loads of really good performances.
I just mean in terms of the all-round contributions, so a really great goal, a really great assist, and all the sort of like, the legwork that you were talking about and the intelligent application.
I just don't think me and you are the ones to be talking about this, because our memory only goes back about 2 weeks.
If that. As I'm saying it to you, I'm thinking, fucking hell, who did we play last and how did he get on?
Yeah, it was West Ham, and I think he only got a few minutes. Like at the end, he come on really late. But and again though, like I feel he's been unlucky that he's not started more, and especially like this shit run that we've had. he's mostly blameless in that, you know, like
Yeah, agreed.
very few.
I agree. Yeah,
I've said
yeah,
like that everyone's got blood on their hands. In some cases, I put in the match report last week, said in some cases, like Robbo, for example, it's more a case if he's got a bit of blood spatter on his shirt, but others are positively just fucking dripping in blood. Harvey's another one who's not really got much on him, just like a few speckles here and there, maybe, because he's not. I think he's deserved to have had more minutes than he's been given, because I don't feel like his performances have really dropped off. He's maybe had like one bad game and then he's not played the next game because of it. But I just think generally his form all season has been like really, really good. He's been a difference maker. He always looks like he's going to make something happen. And the concerns I had about him, like mainly the pace, which is it's never really gonna. That's something that is always going to be there. It's not hampering him. He's getting about the pitch enough.
yeah,
As you said, he seems to have worked on his strength. He's like, you can see he's like bulked up a little bit, hasn't he? That'll be all his work with Mo in the gym. You know, Mo's kind of taking him under his wing and that, hasn't he? And you can see that that's paid off.
And his intelligence and decision
That's
making,
the thing.
that's natural, that isn't it? And he applies himself in the right way at the right time in the right place.
He's one of the best in the squad for that. You know, just for like not giving the ball away as well, just making good decisions. He's cool in possession. He doesn't panic. And I thought he was brilliant today, and that goal was just outstanding.
Yeah,
but like
superb.
that was the goal, even though that was like 4-0 and probably like the least important of all the goals we scored. That was the one that like I celebrated the most, and it was just because it was Harvey. I was like, if anyone's deserved a fucking goal, it's him today.
Yeah,
so I was made up for him. Like
he said,
you know how much it means to him as well. That's the other
absolutely. Thing. He said when he was asked on. I just caught the replays on Twitter. You know, Sky put the key interviews on Twitter afterwards, and I recorded the match, but I'll probably might have a look at it again tomorrow and look at some bits in depth tomorrow. But I just caught up on bits and pieces of the interviews, and I think him and Gakpo were interviewed together, and Patrick Davidson said something along the lines of, "You must have known that was going in as soon as it left your boot," and he said, "No, actually, I thought it hit it over. It was only as it started to dip that I realised it was going in." And I think, I just quite like that humility about him. You know what I mean? He's a very, very humble, personable guy. I love, you know, all the. I mean, you can. I don't know. Maybe I'm guilty of reading too much into these things, but I think you can judge some of these guys as, you know, what kind of a human being they are when you see them interacting with the staff and the camera people and that around the inside training and the inside Anfield videos. And they all, to be fair to them, they all say good morning to the admin team as they walk in, and a lot of them say chat to whoever's operating the camera as they're coming in. But he always seems very warm and personable and upbeat all the time, and there's a lot to be said for that. I think, you know, when you're talking about the sort of pressure that these guys are under, that he's able to have a mindset where he's consistently positive and projecting that onto other people. I think that's a mark of a really good character, which, you know, is crucial at the level that we're talking with him, because, you know, you think about, I just wonder how far his career can go, because technically he's got to be as good as most players in the league. His technique is sensational. He's really, really good technically.
Some of his first touches today, Paul, you know, pulling balls out of the air.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Fucking hell. There was one which I think it got given offside in the first half, but the touch to pull the ball down was just incredible.
I totally agree, Dave, and I see how he clearly, there isn't an ounce of complacency about him in the way that he's developed himself physically. I mean, the way he embraced the loan move when he went off to Blackburn, you know, he really made that count. It's almost like he's clearly a boy wonder. He's prodigious, isn't he? He was a prodigious talent. He was playing at 15 years old in the Fulham first team, and you can see how, you know, some players that goes to the head. There's no element of that with him at all. You know, he didn't think he was too good to drop down to Blackburn. He went there and was their player of the season, added to his game. He doesn't think he's too good to recognise that he needs to develop physically. You know, I think in terms of his technique and his, you know, he'll have a whole sort of armoury of tricks about him, but he's quite disciplined in how he plays. You know, he uses that technique, as you say, for the bread and butter stuff, for the great first touch to bring the ball down. He's not at this moment in time like using his tricks to beat a man or try and make other players look stupid. I want him to get to a point where we're seeing that, where he's absolutely ripping people and he's pinging them in from everywhere. I'm hoping that's a trajectory that he's on, because I do think talent-wise, you know, he has got all that in his locker. I think he has got the potential to be that good. I mean, I think some of that will depend on to what extent he can cement, you know, first choice place down. Can he have a place that becomes his? And that's a challenge for any player in a squad of our size. But I mean, certainly for his age, I don't think we could ask for any more than we're getting from him at the moment. I think he's been a great signing, and we're lucky to have him.
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook.
No, I agree. And like players who you can look at, although I'll be honest, I do struggle to look at him. He's fucking vile. But Bernardo Silva, but he's not. You know, he started out as a winger, but he's not like a flying machine, is he?
Yeah, that's right.
That's like a similar comparison as to what like Harvey should be looking at, and saying, well, Bernardo Silva's playing centre midfield.
Yeah.
And he's got similar physicality in terms of like build, pace and stuff. He's probably a bit quicker than Harvey, but there's not like a massive amount in it. David Silva would be another one.
Yeah,
you know, like, so he should be looking at players like that, and then even like, you know, there's loads of like these little ball players who are maybe not that quick, but there's plenty of like those skillful type of players around who, in the past, it was like, okay, well, we can't play them centre midfield, it's too physical in there, you know, they'll have to play on the wing or maybe a number 10. It's not like that anymore, you know, like the middle of the park's not that physical anymore, so players like skillful players can play in there now, who in previous years would never, like nobody. I think Harry Redknapp started it when he put Modric centre midfield.
That's right.
He moved him from like a 10. He was always like, he played as a 10 because it's like, oh, he's a bit lightweight, you can't play him in there. And then he plays in centre midfield and he's brilliant, and we see it all the time now. So the physical side of it, you know, I don't think it should hold him back that much, as long as like he develops his game enough, and the signs are that he is. You know, I think like overall he's been one of our best players all season, even though he's not started that many games. Just performance-wise, he's not dipped, has he? He's been.
No, I mean, quite interesting, really. If you start to, I mean, I think we should wait to the end of the season before we really have this conversation. But it is the younger players who are a lot of the younger players are in and around that conversation. You know, certainly him and Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
You know, they're two that have really, really imposed themselves across the season, taken their opportunity and impressed week in, week out, really. So yeah, really, really great performance from Harvey today. And I like you, Dave, I was absolutely fucking made up when that went in for him. And you can see he is a proper red. He's not a plazzy red. He's not like someone who likes to tell everyone that he supported Liverpool but wasn't really arsed. He genuinely is a red and loves the club.
Yeah. Comes from his dad, doesn't it? His dad's
right.
Like travelled everywhere watching us and that, and yeah, he is. He's like proper fan, absolutely loves it. Every interview he does, you can just see it coming out of him. But so it's 4-0, and I think I want to talk about Mo's miss, because you know that like when he's virtually on the goal line and he's somehow missed it.
Yeah.
I need to see it back, because like I don't know what.
Hang on, which one? Are you on about the one that came across, or the one where he ran in and he should have just put it in near post with his right and he?
No, when it came across and he was like virtually stood like a yard from goal, and he sort of flicked his right boot at it and it went wide. Yeah.
Bizarre.
I didn't know what was going on, and the only thing I can think is he thought that like play had stopped or something, or it wasn't going to count, because it was so like casual the way he just flicked his foot and tried to just divert it in the corner when all he's got to do is just put his foot through it, and he's virtually on the goal line.
Yeah.
It was one of the most bizarre misses I've ever seen. But I don't know what the score was at that point. I think it was either 4-1 or 4-2, and like, because it kind of meant something. I'm like, no, that's like, if it's 4-0.
I think it was 4-2, Dave.
Yeah, I felt when it missed, I was like, what the fuck? Because if it had done that at 4-0, I'd have just laughed. I wouldn't have been arsed. But
right, I'll tell you, it must have been 4-2 because Eddie, again next to me, went fucking nuts with him, saying you can't be missing shots like that at this stage of the game. You've got to put it away. He went absolutely fucking ballistic.
I don't even know what he was doing though. It was so.
No, it was weird. It was weird.
It was
really weird.
So we'll go to the Spurs goals then. I can't even really remember them, to be honest.
So Johnson got sort of. It was I can't remember where the ball came to Johnson, but he had like he had like half a yard on.
Pitch. I didn't even know he came on. Was it him who put the cross in then?
I think so. Yeah, maybe.
So that's what they must have done. They must have gone like Johnson right, and then Son's gone left, and Richarlison
through the middle. Somebody played the ball, and he had half a yard on Joe Gomez. And Gomez was just closing him down, didn't quite get there. He whipped the ball across. Not many players beat Joe Gomez in a one-on-one, but he did have a little head start on him. And I think they turned us around quite quickly. So Gomez had to just spin and get and try and get back, and didn't quite get there. And I need to see the ball before the ball. I don't think Gomez wasn't at fault for me, but what I'm not clear about is the turnover in possession, or who played the pass down the right hand side. Then he cuts one across, and Richarlison just it's a good finish, to be fair, knocks it past Alisson. I think Alisson didn't really have a chance, and the finish was really good. And in fact, I get the sense, I'm trying to think where Virgil was. I think Virgil was a couple of yards not there. They must have turned us around. We must have been high up and they turned us around. But it's a really good cross, and it's a really good finish.
Because after that, it just like it was panic stations, wasn't it? Like they got the tails
really
up,
was,
and we just couldn't deal with it at all. And it was like chance after chance. Alisson's made like a couple of amazing saves. I think one of them might have been the offsides one, but he's made another one from, I think it was Son, when they got in on the left. We've also had like scrambles where the ball's pinging around the box. They got the second, which there was a VAR check on that. I was just hoping that maybe Richarlison had been offside when it had come into him, and then he laid it back
to Son. Yeah,
and then
that was the one where Bajcetic, I think it was the second. Bajcetic went miles out of position chasing the ball. He went over to the left hand side of the pitch and left a space in the middle. The ball was switched across to Skip. Who is it? What's his name? Skip, is it? Went across to Skip, and he then played it into Richarlison, who again, it was good football. Knocked it back to Son, who knocked it in. Alisson was slightly wrong-footed, and Son put it down to Alisson's right. Alisson started to go to his left, and then just as he was trying to change feet, the ball was already past him. Yeah, you're right. It was all a bit panicky at that point, wasn't it? It was like suddenly all the changes that we'd made. It felt like people didn't know what the role was and where they were playing, and we just kind of lost all semblance of control or a grip on the game.
That's happened a couple of times this season, because I remember we spoke about it, like home games especially, and we've had this discussion before where like we've made like a triple change on the hour mark or whatever, and it takes like 5 or 10 minutes for everyone to readjust to it, and we've looked vulnerable like at times when we've done that, and we'd never really got it back. We still had chances ourselves, because like they were just throwing everything forward and leaving gaps, so there was always opportunities for us like to hit them on the break. But I mean, I didn't think anything of it at the time, but like the lads had just posted in the chat like the still photo of when they done the VAR check on the penalty with Gomez on the back post. Have you seen that?
I'm just looking at it right now with his foot up.
Yeah, that's what they had that's what the VAR check was for, which I knew that's what the check was for at the time. But I in real time I watched it and I was like, no, that's just good defending. But when you look at that still image, it's not good, is it?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it?
So we've kind of maybe got. I'd need to see like that real speed and that to have like a proper opinion on it. But if they get a penalty there and it goes 4-3, I mean, didn't we? Wasn't last season game? It was we were 3-0 up and ended up 3-3, and then Jota won it like last kick of the game. We blew a 3-0 lead, didn't we? I'm sure we did.
If you say so, mate.
And we did, because Richarlison came on as a sub and scored as like his only goal of the season, didn't he?
Yes, that's.
And
I do remember
was the equaliser,
that.
but I'm sure it was like we were 3-0 up and it got back to 3-3. He scored right at the end, and then like with seconds to go, Jota won it for us 4-3. Because I was fucking fuming after that game as well, even though we won. It didn't really feel like a win. It was like the fact that we almost threw it away like that, and we were close to doing that again today. Because if they get a penalty there, I don't know. I feel like the way it was going, they could.
We were wobbly, weren't we?
Yeah,
we were definitely wobbly. I think it settled a little bit last 10. I mean, there was.
I would say it
settled
settled once it got to 90 minutes and there was 7 minutes stoppage time.
Yeah,
we saw that out relatively comfortably because it didn't feel like they were.
And we did have a go at them a couple of times, didn't we?
Yeah, because they were wide open. Like, you know, we should have
Yeah.
finished them off. We had like opportunities to do it. There's the one where like it was a clear penalty on Mo, but it got pulled back for an offside. And I
I'm
want to
not
see
sure
that one
about the
again.
offside.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I
think he
thought that
was.
at the time. And Mo looked a little bit bemused.
Yeah, I'd need to see it again, but like in real time watching that, I didn't think he was offside at all.
No, agreed.
But I don't know. They must have checked it because there'll have been a penalty appeal, so they must have done a check on it. Isn't it ridiculous like that with having to talk about like them checking everything? It's just shit, isn't it?
It's really
All these
shit.
incidents that we're talking about, it's like, well, you know, VAR's had a look at it.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it. Just let the referees and linesmen.
I mean,
just deal with it.
I honestly don't think it's hyperbole to say I think refereeing's in crisis. Every single week there's just I've never known levels of control. Refereeing and decisions in top flight football has always been controversial, but this is kind of like this is way beyond.
But it's because of VAR.
controversial
It's
or talking
magnified
points.
it. VAR's
Absolutely.
magnified it like tenfold.
And I also think it's put undue pressure on referees who are already under pressure, and they're second guessing themselves and getting things wrong. And throw into the mix as well, you know, changes of emphasis in the laws or application of the laws. And I mean, some of the changes they made, I don't even see what the benefit is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing about, you know, the about when you flag an offside and when you don't flag an offside, I just don't see where there's a benefit there, particularly when it's not applied consistently in the way that you were talking about before.
And just on that consistency point though, did you notice today that and like Tierney's actually got this wrong, even though for me it's 100% right, and I applaud him for doing it. He's gone against what like they're supposed to do now. Did you see we had a break and it must have been the other lad in midfield, Sarr. He pulled somebody back and Tierney waved play on and we went through and we almost scored from it. It was a good chance. So he's given the advantage, and when play stopped, he booked him. They're not supposed to do that anymore.
What do you mean they're not supposed to do
They're
that?
not supposed
Why
to do it. That's why. Remember, like with the Joe Linton one earlier in the season, when like Joe Linton pulled back. I said at the time, I spoke about it last week, and I said McAllister. It was Szoboszlai. Joe Linton just dragged him back, just like horse collar tackled him, and I'm pretty sure it was Anthony Taylor, and he didn't go back. We were all going mad at the time because he didn't bring it back to book him. And then it came out like they said, no, the rules have changed now, and they're only supposed to go back and book them if it's like a tackle, and if it's like a bad tackle, if you kick someone, they can book them for like an aggressive tackle. But if they give play on, they're not supposed to book them for a share.
You see that, right? That law change, and also the fact that they don't automatically stop the game for an offside, means that you're basically making cheating a bit of a lottery. You're almost incentivising cheating. You're basically saying, well, it's a roll of the dice. You might get away with it, so have a go. You've got a good chance of getting away with it. You know, you can gamble on being offside because, if it's not in the first phase, then you can score in the second phase and you're fine. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Who comes up with that, though? Who decides?
I know,
you know
exactly.
what? From now on, if you play an advantage, you're not allowed to go back and book the player unless it's a really bad tackle.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who sits there and comes up with this shit?
No.
I mean, it makes no sense.
Arsene Wenger
it's always
seems to be
been
involved
like
in
that.
all this shit. So I don't know whether it is him or not.
Well, it's always been like that's how it is. It's like you can give the advantage, but we're still pulling it back and booking you for that foul. And Tierney did that today with the Spurs player, but I'm pretty sure he's not supposed to.
Football seems to have moved into, the lawmakers in football seem to have moved into a phase where they've got bored and now they're tinkering for the sake of tinkering. It's not, there's things that we've seen which have demonstrably improved the game. The back pass rule is a prime example. The change of emphasis in offside, where, the whole thing around level and daylight and all of that, and basically really favouring the attacking player. That's all about making the game more exciting, making the game more attacking, and that's all helped the spectacle and the thrills, and that's made the game grow exponentially. It's made it more televisual, and it's made it, it's made it, as popular as it is in terms of TV and TV money. But some of these things, you just think nobody saw a problem. Nobody was questioning these things that you've changed. And it hasn't actually done anything to improve the game. In fact, it's created areas of doubt and actually made the game worse in many areas.
Makes no sense.
It's just bizarre. It's people with too much time on their hands and getting paid too much money and just tinkering and fucking about with something that doesn't need to be messed with.
Probably never played footy in their lives.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what I wanted to talk about.
Go on.
Did you see Alisson got caught on the ball? He was dawdling and he tried to clear it and it got charged down. Thankfully, it went wide, or it didn't go in the goal anyway. When that happened, my dad just turned to me and he just went, "That's why he's our number 2 keeper."
I knew where that was going.
I never even said nothing. I just nodded.
And there wasn't a trace of irony about it either.
No,
he wasn't joking. He meant it.
Well, that's what he said before the game when the teams came out, and he went, "So, see, we're playing the backup keeper today." And I was like, "Yeah, there's nothing riding on this game now, though, Dad. Might as well, mightn't we?"
It was good to see you, Dad, today.
Yeah, he was really enjoying himself until them substitutions, and then it just proper pissed him off. Anything else? I need to talk about Darwin's miss at the end. Just fucking lift it. What are you doing? It's infuriating.
I mean, did you hear much? Now. Did you hear much negativity about him? Because I for the first time, I've heard people angry with him, and people saying he's shite, get rid. It wasn't like a clamour, and he was still getting the support in the ground from the crowd.
No, I heard it as well. There was murmurings,
yeah. People are now sort of thinking, but I think that's symptomatic of where we are in the season and what's happened, and people naturally scapegoat things. But he's definitely under pressure. He's under pressure, no doubt, and there are big question marks over him now.
See, I think he's in the situation changing now with a new manager coming in. I think that benefits him massively because everybody now, it's a clean slate. Even the players who are out on loan will come back. Everybody now is going to start equal.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a fresh start for everyone. And I think he probably needs that. And I'm not blaming anybody for his missed chances and that, but the only thing that I can't get my head around is this is obviously a mental thing. Because it's decision making in these situations. Like that one today, it's so easy to just lift it or go round him. Just go round to your left. The keeper's fully committed himself. He's flew out and just launched himself. So that keeper is not doing anything other than just trying to block a shot. So either put it over him or go round to the left.
There's no doubt it's mental, isn't it? I think.
But how have they not been able to sort that? What are they? Has anyone actually sat down with him and spoke about all of this, or do they not want to make it a big thing? Is it one of those where it's like, well, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't make it a thing for him and he can just carry on? Because Klopp said about the great thing about him is, he just keeps going and he keeps going and he doesn't get, his head doesn't go down after he misses chances. That's bollocks. His head does go down. And that today, after he missed that, the final whistle went about 10 seconds later and he just got straight off the pitch. He was fucking gutted.
I mean, I think we are this kind of marginal gains culture and leave no stone unturned in terms of our pursuit of excellence. You think that that German neuroscience team that they had working with them on penalties and all the little things that we've done. If Darwin has not been working with a psychologist around visualization and around confidence and decision making, then that's mad. Like, I find that really strange. I was
That's
listening
why
to...
I'm asking, because we haven't heard anything, have we? But surely we must have done something.
I listen intermittely to the Gary Neville The Rest Is Football podcast. Sometimes I probably listen to 1 and 2 of them. I'm subscribed to it, but sometimes it's just a bit self-indulgent shit, and they just get deleted. Other times it's interesting. It just depends on how the games have gone and what they're talking about, what the topic is. But there was one on in the last couple of weeks where they were talking about visualization and as a technique, and it was I think they'd spoken to a player who was talking about how he practices visualization and it really helps him. I can't remember who it is.
I know what you mean. I can't remember who it is, but I seen the
but I think what was
Mo? Mo was talking about
was it Mo?
Yeah, he said like before games.
Right.
Well,
what was interesting was
he pictures different scenarios.
Lineker and Shearer both said that they used to do it, but they didn't do it. They both of them talked about it. It was before we knew there was something called visualization, but they think about things that might materialize in the game, and they'd imagine themselves scoring in certain situations, and that would really help them going into a game when in high pressure intense situations came along, not necessarily replicating what they'd imagined, but just having like played elements of the pressure situations through in their mind in the build up to the game a couple of days before. That was, on a Thursday or a Friday before a Saturday kickoff, a Saturday game. That really helped them. And I look at Darwin when it's entirely psychological, I think. It's entirely in his head.
No doubt about it. You look at the finishes for Benfica and look at what he's doing now.
And you think what we've spent on him, why are we not? I mean, if we are doing something with him in that regard, then that doesn't bode well. If we've spent 2 seasons and he's been working with a psychologist and it's had no discernible impact, because the mistakes are still there, but the raw talent is still there as well. I mean, I think more fans are moving to a position now where they're kind of like having definitive judgments on him. I mean, you and I said this on the way up today. You made the point that, and I think we probably will talk more about a few players in a second, about who might go and who might stay, and the data people will like the fact that he still keeps getting these chances and he's got a high XG, and it's the conversion bit which isn't quite happening, but that
they don't care about that.
Exactly.
The stats people will look at, like, he's off the chart with all of his every attribute apart from his XG and him being like way below as XG. Yeah. That's the one thing that stands out, is like that's bad. But they look at that and go, that levels itself out. They'll look at that as an anomaly that will eventually.
No, I think there's a case to be looking at and saying, but 2 years in, when's the level out going to start?
Yeah, that's fair.
But I also think there's a case for saying, and maybe this is a little bit of straw clutching, but I just don't think we can just be washing our hands of an investment of this scale when there is massive raw potential there still. It still is there, there's no doubt in my mind. The potential is still there. We've got a new manager coming in who plays in a slightly different way with more control in the build-up, even if we are very sort of aggressive, and if he will want us to be aggressive and intense off the ball. And I wonder if he wants him to be stay much more central and much more narrow and be more of a penalty area player. And the team is designed around giving him chances in the penalty area, and just a different personality working with him, a different perspective working with him. I really want to see how that goes. I would be reluctant to cut our losses and move him on at this stage without Slot having a good look at him and to see what he can do. Because I just think you can't. Nobody, whether they like him or not, can deny that he's got so many of the the raw materials to be top class. He's got power, he's got pace, he's got a shot on him. He can pass. We've seen all kinds of goals from him over his career. The issue is just the consistency and the number of missed chances. And that, as we've said, is got to be psychological. So I just would like to see what someone else can do with it.
Absolutely is psychological. And also, the thing this is what frustrates me the most, is like the thing that he's like shit at is the easiest part. It's like getting yourself in those situations as regularly as he does. That's not easy. Not many people are getting those situations,
and
he
some of the
does
psychology
over and over again, and he's not taking advantage. But it's the easiest part that he's failing with.
I mean, I don't think we
should.
should.
It's an easy finish.
Agreed. I don't think we should forget as well. It's easy to forget when you've got Klopp there and we've won everything and we've done so well. It's fucking massive coming to Liverpool. You know, we are a massive club. It's a big. He made a big step up to come to us in terms of, the scale of the club, the players he's playing with, the league that he's in, the level of scrutiny that he's under. And, that might be an issue for him, because he got, 31 in his last season at Benfica. And I just wonder if that's part of it as well. It's just the pressure of playing for Liverpool.
I don't know about that. The only reason I'd say that is if he was playing shit, then I would say, yeah, it's too big for him. But his performances are mostly good. Okay, the last few weeks have been shit, along with pretty much everybody else. But if you go back 5 weeks, there's hardly anybody was saying get rid of him. Now there's loads saying it now based on what's happened in the last 5 weeks. But before that, there was hardly anybody saying that. There was some, don't get me wrong, but he'd won over so many people. And he'd started to put the ball in the net. He'd scored some important goals, and then it's just reared its ugly head again. When he's missed chances, the whole team's missed chances, and it's put pressure on everybody else, and they've all just
fragile,
in front of goal. Yeah, and that's what it is to me. It's that split second when he's in front of goal. He's just reverting to safety. I'm just going to blast it. Instead of just it's with good strikers. Time slows down in those situations. It slows down for them, and they'll pick the right option and finish it. And with him, it's speeding up, and he's just hitting it straight at the keeper. But I don't think that's a terminal issue. I just think because it's not that difficult. It really isn't.
I'm inclined to agree with you, and I certainly. If the club make a decision, the club makes a decision. But I would like to see what Slot can do with him. I'd like to see how he does in a new system. That said, I've got a caveat here, and this doesn't just apply to Darwin. I think this applies right across our front five. I would like to see a new signing for the front line to put pressure on all of them, either directly or indirectly.
Agreed, I want a wide player,
that might still have the same impact, because you might bring in a wide player that might move Mo to the middle, or you might bring a wide player that means that you've now got 6 for 3 positions.
You've still got Jota, Gakpo, and Nunes for the 9, even if you're not putting Mo there.
Yeah, that's right. So I would like to see all of them come under. I want to see one truly clinical player in there who almost becomes like the automatic first pick, and see what impact that has on the rest. Because it's almost like I find myself revisiting things I've said all season about our front five, and that front five was an asset in my mind. Well, before the season started, I talked about how that might be the difference maker in the league campaign for us over other teams.
It was in a negative way.
But we were scoring. And actual fact, what we were doing was focusing on the fact that they were getting goals, even though we were missing loads of chances. And then when the goals start to dry up, then the missed chances earlier in the season start to become more glaring, insofar as it makes us reflect on the fact that none of them has been clinical.
Yeah.
And I think what we need is somebody who's really
other than Jota, who's never fit.
And that's the caveat for him, isn't it? So I'm all for persevering with Darwin if that's what Slot and the club wants to do, and I'm all for seeing how he might thrive or otherwise in a slightly different system with a new manager and fresh voices and a fresh approach. But I also don't want to just put all my eggs in that basket. I want us to go and get somebody as well.
Yeah, I agree, but like I say, I want a pacey wide player who can beat a man, especially because that's how Slot plays. Like his wingers, he'll isolate them 1v1. He wants people who can take someone on. So that's what I would be looking, because that's not Mo's game anymore. it's Diaz's game. You know, Diaz, if you can get him isolated 1v1 time and time again, he's going to make things happen. Ben Doak's really good in that situation as well, but it's not really Mo anymore. Used to be, but that's not really how he plays anymore. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But in terms of like what you said there about Darwin, to me that applies to the whole squad in the sense there's not one player who I'm going to be sat here and say, yeah, he needs to go and he needs to go. I'm totally relaxed about all of that.
Yeah,
I feel like a new manager coming in has got to make that decision for himself, and he should. I don't think that this decision is going to be made by Edwards, for example, and if it is, then it's wrong, because I think the manager, in terms of buying players, Edwards can have like the final say. You know, they can come up with a list of players. The manager has an input and all that, but ultimately, it's going to be, well, de facto, it's going to be Richard Hughes, but we all know it's going to be Edwards who's going to have the final say and stuff. Yeah. And I'm totally fine with that in terms of incomings. But when it comes to outgoings, the manager needs to be the one to say, yeah, I can't work with him. He doesn't fit what I want to do. I don't think he's good enough, whatever. And the manager should say, not for me. Now you can start like touting him around, getting offers, whatever. But I feel like the manager's the one who's got to decide on players leaving, because I don't feel like it's the place of like the sporting director or Edwards to be saying, yeah, this player's not good enough, let's get rid of him. When a new manager may come in and how he wants to play and what he sees, like what attributes he needs for a specific role, he might really like that player. Yeah. Regardless of what he shows up on the stat sheet. The manager's got to make that decision.
I mean, what I would like to see in some ways is really just the same principles of how I see the structure of the club for bringing players in. I'd like to see that apply to players going out. So I'm more than happy for the recruitment team and the data people to be doing ongoing assessments of the impact that our players are having. And they will have a view on who is performing and who's underperforming based on the data.
Also the physical side of it, who's dropping off,
and the medical side. And I would be very surprised. I'd be disappointed, in fact, if they're not having conversations with Slot and saying, look, listen, Arno, we think the time is right to move these players on, but we want you to confirm that you're happy for them to go, or whether there's any of them you feel strongly about that you want to keep.
Yeah.
So I would give him the final say, but I would certainly be wanting them to be asking the question of Slot. You know, I like him a lot. I really like him a lot, Endo. But I wonder whether, and I've got nothing other than gut to base this on, but I wonder whether the club might think, well, Endo's come in and done us a job, but we've got Stefan Bajcetic who's come back today. We've got Tyler Morton who's had a great season on loan at Hull. And we've got a development model, and we need to make space for those two young players to come back into the team.
Also depends on Trent if they want to move into midfield.
Absolutely. So you wonder whether they turn around to Slot and just say, listen, we think his time has come. We want to move him on. We think we can get, we signed him for 16. We might be able to get 22, 23, 24 for him, or maybe even a little bit more. It's just his age that'll cap that, I think. And now's a good time to deal. And I'd be expecting them to maybe prompt him to make a decision. And I think he might have to be pragmatic in some of those decisions. I don't think what he can't afford to do necessarily is, although maybe he will, maybe the club will accept this, is to want to wait until the end of pre-season when he's had some time with them all.
Well, that's what I think should happen. I think he needs to have a look at everyone. But where the fly in the ointment is, we're going to have probably half the squad are not going to come back until really late because of the Euros I don't know. I'm imagining it's like Copa America and stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect him though to be. Even now, I'd expect him. I expect him right now to be an expert in the Liverpool first team squad.
Yeah,
I would expect him to have watched all our games and analysed our games himself this season and probably last season as well.
Well, you can just ask that lad, the defender. He was in the away end at West Ham last week.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You should just have him in the office. Right, so what's the lowdown here?
The other thing I'd expect as well is even, as soon as his season with Feyenoord is finished, or as soon as it's confirmed, I'd expect him, even though I guess he'll be going on holiday and what have you, he will want a bit of a break.
he should be immersed himself in the club's internal data. He should be wanting reports. He should be saying, look, yeah, I'm going to be on the beach, but I want to see all the reports on all these players. I want to see their fitness profiles. I want to see the data profiles on. And so before he even takes a training session, he'll have his own view in terms of his own analysis. He'll be wanting the club's internal analysis, and he'll be wanting the club's data. And that gives him a more informed starting point when he hits the ground with them on the training pitch. Because that's the level of analysis that's expected in football now, isn't it? I think.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll be totally up to speed with all of that.
It's not just like rock up on the first day of training and wing it a little bit and just say, he's got a good first touch.
Seeing it for yourself though, like he can have all of these reports, he can have like preconceived ideas, and then a player can come in and he watches him in like training sessions and a couple of pre-season games, and he's like, whoa.
Yeah,
he's way better than I suspected.
And no report or TV or watching the game on telly really reveals a player's true character to you. Character's important. For all that this is the data age in football, character and personality are as important as ever. I think. For all the reasons we've just been alluding to in some ways, mentality that we've been alluding to around Darwin. That you don't really get to understand the mentality and character of a player until you actually meet them in person.
And I bet like if you go back to last summer, Jarell Quansah's like stat sheet and all of that stuff would not have even hinted at what we've seen from him this year.
No, absolutely.
So that again, that's what I'm saying. You've got to actually look at these players and make an opinion based on working with them. What the character's like, how do they perform under pressure, all of this stuff. And these are things that like you're only going to know through working with them, which is why I'm completely relaxed about the situation in terms of players leaving this summer. If we did not sell anyone, I would be fine with that. Let him work with these players and decide after you get to the January window, and he may have a clearer idea then of like who's not going to work out for him, and then maybe look at doing it then. But I don't think we're going to see many leave. I do think Kostas is going to go. He wasn't even on the bench today.
Well, I think you said on the way up, and I think that it made sense. We've got Owen Beck and we've got Luke Chambers, and we need to make space for them. I mean,
they could be next year's Conor Bradley.
Absolutely.
Because they've both. I mean, Chambers went to Wigan. He didn't look great when he played for us, but he was really unlucky because he got injured in pre-season. And he was fighting it the whole way through, and like he's come back and he's not sharp, and then he's been put in the first team for the cup games and stuff, and didn't really do himself justice because he wasn't fully fit. He goes on loan to Wigan, and he's like arguably their best player. The time he was there, like he was getting rave reviews. They loved him there. They thought he was brilliant, similar to how Bradley was at Bolton. And then Owen Beck got named in like the PFA SPL Team of the Year. It's mostly like Celtic and Rangers players, but he was picked playing for Dundee, and he got in at left back. So he's obviously had a really good season up in Scotland. He's impressed a lot of people. So you do look at them and think potentially one of them could be a left-footed Conor Bradley.
And we should be looking at those players. The development model that we have, I love that. One of the things I've enjoyed most this season is seeing all those young lads come through. Yeah. Buzz off that. I've always enjoyed that. I've always wanted that. If you go back to sort of like the hole we were in around Gillette and Hicks, lots of us used to talk on the forum all the time about how the club, the way we wanted the club to be, and some people were talking about a sugar daddy coming in and taking us over, and some fans wanted like a billionaire who just throw money at it and almost doing Abramovich. And I never wanted that. What I wanted was, broadly speaking, what we got now. I don't think my opinion was as nuanced as what we do now in terms of a data-led model. But I certainly wanted academy development as a big focus, supplemented by cherry picking some really boss players that you spend big money on who come in.
Yeah.
So you get a Zidane and you get a Bradley. A Van Dijk, and I was mixing up. That's what Madrid used to call it, didn't they?
Zidane and
Pavones, yeah. Zidane, Pavones. You get a Van Dijk and you get a Bradley. And I even though that's a bit of a crass sort of distillation of a model, there is something to be said for that, I think. So I'm more than happy with all these young lads coming in, and I want us to continue with that. And you know what, that's one of the things that irritates me the most about when people rattle on about FSG with the penny pinching. It's not about the money for me. It's about the fact that we've got this model that works really well. It just makes
and I like the ownership of the club and its values that the young players have when they come in. That they're steeped in Liverpool FC. I love that. You know, I'm a little bit of a romantic about that sort of stuff, but I also think it does. Those players do have a bit of a head start in terms of assimilating themselves because they've been educated, and I feel that we've got the academy now to such a under Alex Inglethorpe and Jurgen Klopp, where the academy just seems to be this almost perfect synchronicity with the first team. You know, players come in and they just seamlessly fit in because they're used to playing in that similar way, and I think we've got to continue to do that. I think we'd be mad
very much Slot's MO though, isn't he? That's something else that he's known for. So.
It is. Do you know, in terms of players who would go, I mean, I think I started off the pod by saying there's nobody that I would want to move on, and obviously, so in that sense I'm in agreement with you. There are a couple, and I might be, there are a few who I would be gutted if we sold, but there aren't many. There's quite a few I'd have no problems if they went either. There's quite a lot of them, you know, if the club decide that they're going to move someone, I'd just think, okay, so be it. But there's a handful where I just think, no, I'd be absolutely devastated if we sold them. And I think there's been an element of around some of the fan conversation of baby and bathwater recently. You know, I do think people we're spoiled bastards the way we talk about Trent sometimes. I also think that I absolutely accept he's had a very by his own standards indifferent season, Mo, but the number of people who are just saying get rid of him, flog him, cash in. I mean, first of all, I just think it's not that simple. You and I think we're in complete agreement. Mo's going nowhere with a year to go in his contract. He might go on a free in 12 months' time, but he's not leaving this summer.
No, the decision will be with him.
Yeah,
the club
absolutely.
Are powerless, really.
Absolutely.
It's what he wants to do.
But in some senses, that's it. And I do think that is the reality of the situation. But in some senses, that's immaterial. What I find amazing is how this is the first real big question mark over Mo's quality, sustained question mark over Mo's quality in his Liverpool career. And he's been one of the greatest players we've had. He's a freak in terms of his fitness, generally speaking. And yet the number of people who are leaping towards now's the time to get rid. I get that there's pundits outside the club and there's people who are just paid to say controversial things about football who trot out that bullshit. I just find it astounding that people are so quick to say get rid. I think people are similarly indifferent about...
Were you saying that last week?
Oh yeah,
it was like heat of the moment after the game, and you were like five cans deep, and you just seen him walking through the mixer.
Yeah, that was not about his quality. That was about me being a half-cut tit. I think other players who I think the ones I really would be gutted if there was any move on this summer. I mean, I think Alisson for me untouchable, Trent untouchable, Virgil. Leave the kids, forget the kids, and I'm including Quansah and Elliott as the kids. So I think none of the kids should go, unless they're very peripheral or they've been out on loan. But of the first team players, the players who had significant contributions this season, Alisson's untouchable for me. Trent is, Virgil is, Robbo is, Maka is, Mo is. And apart from that, I wouldn't be too gutted. Gutted.
Did you say Robbo?
I said Robbo. I said Robbo, yeah. I wouldn't be too gutted if we accepted offers for pretty much anyone else. And I like loads of them. I really like Endo. I've got a soft spot for Darwin, even though I'm frustrated by the fact that we've not seen what I wanted to see from him. But I wouldn't be absolutely devastated if any of those other players were moved on. I just think, but I think that maybe now that we know change is coming, we know we're getting a new manager, it's easy to sort of, start looking forward and say that now is the right time for a change, and maybe you're just trying to retrospectively apply meaning to something that's a fait accompli anyway. You know, we've got no choice. The change is coming, so now we need to try and make the best of it and look on the bright side. But it does feel like now is the right time for some fresh eyes.
I definitely agree. I would never ever have called for it. I'm gutted that Klopp's
absolutely
leaving. I'd never have called for it, But when you're looking at it now, it's like these players need a new voice. And I think Klopp he's done an interview with Sky yesterday. He done it in the week, but it was I seen it on YouTube yesterday, and he kind of said that himself. He said like he's actually started looking at it and thinking, should I have done this sooner? He said because he heard an interview that Trent had done, where Trent was saying, I've only ever had one manager, and that's the only voice that I've listened to. And he said, and I don't know what it's going to be like coming for pre-season with somebody else. And Klopp said he heard Trent saying that, and it made him think, that 7 years, however long Trent's been in the team, he's like, that is a long time for only one manager. And he said maybe these players do need another voice now, and I think it's obvious we need as well, just the football as well. It's got to change. As fun as it's been great. I wouldn't have changed it at all. I love the all-out attack that we've seen from Jurgen. It's exactly how I want us to play. Yeah. But there's got to be a bit more control now, because that's what City and Arsenal are doing, and that's the difference really.
Do you know just
it's
on
not
that,
as frantic for them, is it? It's like
absolutely,
we're on a knife edge all the time.
Absolutely. Two thoughts there on that point. The first one, just on the style of football, it feels to me like we went with the inverted fullback thing to deal with a specific problem last season when we were getting run through.
Yeah.
But it's almost like we only sort of half thought it through. It was about making us harder to play through, but then we didn't really think through about how it affects the rest of our game. And maybe that's a bit of a crude analysis, but it feels like it was a bit of a sticking plaster that's just remained in place, and we haven't developed it from there. The other thing that occurs to me as you were talking there about, them needing a new voice and Klopp saying that himself, the two great managers who've done long-term jobs and continue to win trophies at the top, and there is the caveat of cheating in one case, but Ferguson and Guardiola both also affected change on the squad in different ways. So Ferguson, he arguably had 3 great teams, so he turned the players over, but he also turned his assistant managers over. He brought people in. In fact, he wanted to bring David Moyes in as his assistant as a precursor to his retirement, and Moyes didn't want to come in and do that job from Everton, I think. But he had these assistants that he gave a lot of power to in terms of training and development, but they would do 2 years, and it's a new voice, and it's a significant voice. Mm-hmm. He remains the authority father figure, but they're the ones who have new ideas on the pitch and what have you. And Guardiola has turned over the players. Guardiola's and continually...
The way they play as well.
And adapted the way they play, that's right. And Klopp was sort of changing the way we play, but then things have just... He kept hold of players longer in terms of the numbers of players that he kept hold. This goes back to the conversation with Stu a week or two ago. He probably kept hold of too many of them for too long. I mean, I think we all agreed in that pod that there need to be, you shouldn't have absolutes in terms of how long you keep players for over the age of 30. You should have the capacity to make exceptions, but the general principle that you shouldn't just keep hold of players for the sake of loyalty and the sake of team cohesion, or the sake of leadership, it's a sound principle to have. Yeah, you can make the odd exception, but it shouldn't be something that you're continually making exceptions for. And I think we kept too many players longer than we needed to in retrospect, and all of that was, all of that has contributed to this kind of malaise that hit the club. It looked like we'd shaken it off this season, but then that seems to have been tied to Klopp's own personal energy, and as he's become absolutely exhausted, that that huge character, that huge personality, as that has reached its limits of what it can do, so that it's caught up with the players, I think.
Yeah, and going back to in terms of players who, the reason why I'm there's not one player who I'm saying he should be sold or I want him to go, purely because we've seen, I don't think there's any of them who will say he's not good enough. Now, it may well turn out to be like that, but they've all shown enough at various points to show, okay, there's a player there, he could be really good. And again, let's not forget, 5 weeks ago, we were still top of the league. We were thinking we were going to win the Europa League. And the wheels have come off massively because they've just choked under the pressure. You know, they let the United game, like the missed chances, they let that get in their heads, and then it built up with more missed chances. And like just mentally, the team did not stand up and deliver when it mattered most. But that doesn't like totally cancel out everything that had gone before. And a new manager should just come in and he should be looking at those players and making a decision who he wants to keep, who needs to move on. You know, and we don't know the finances as well. You know, they might need to move someone on to bring somebody in. I don't know. That comes into it as well. But I just think I'm relaxed about it. I'm not saying get rid of him. There's not one player who I'll say to you, he's got to go. I've said Kostas will probably go. Not because I want him to go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying get rid of Kostas. I'm saying I think he will go. Just practicality reasons. You know, we've got 2 young left backs who are going to be fighting it out to be understudy to Robbo probably. So Kostas is kind of in the way of that. And I think they'll see him as like expendable. You know, maybe he'll be one who'll go. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think there's like loads of glaring ones who you'll be like. No. It's going to be who doesn't fit into how Slot wants to play. So that could be something random. Like it could. I'm just using him as an example, but like Gravenberch, for example, might not fit any particular role in that team, or he might be perfect for a role that he's got in mind. I don't know enough about what Feyenoord do to have any opinion on that. I've just used him as an example. It might be somebody like that who they go, he doesn't really fit. Maybe we move him on and then I can get somebody in who fits exactly what I'm looking for. So it might be something like that, whether it's like Gravenberch, whether it's Diaz, whether it's whoever. You know, it could be anybody. But what I'm saying is that's just up to Slot to decide that, and I'm like I've got no opinion on it at all in terms of because I think they're all good players. There's nobody that jumps out at me where they go, he's shit. He's got to. I
mean, I'm pretty much with you there, almost word for word. I think so. Saying to Chris and John in the pub and Dan as well. I think Dan and I just were in the middle of that conversation. We were talking about. In some ways, you'd never choose for us to be in this position, having been in the position that we were in 6 weeks ago. But in some ways, this is actually pretty good for Slot. So it's actually dampened expectations. So if you think of where our expectations were before the season, they were very muted. They then became like probably unrealistically high, although you could argue it was realistic given where we were, top of the league and challenging on all fronts with a trophy in the bag. Now there's been
8 games left and it was in our hands.
Absolutely.
The top, so I don't think it is unrealistic.
But now you're seeing this rebalancing, and we're seeing there's a rebalancing of expectations now. We're not as bad as we thought we were before the season, and we're not as good as we thought we were a few weeks ago. We probably are comfortably the 3rd best team.
Yeah,
I think that helps him to come in that position. Agreed. And also with all these new players, I say new. I mean, some of them have been here 2 years, but I still think, or 2.5 years in Diaz's case, but I still put them all under that word new, in that they haven't established themselves as great Liverpool players, but a lot of them seem like they've got the raw materials in the right context to give more than they're offering now. I think that's a good position for the club to be in, to bring a new manager in. You've got these players who've all shown what you said, that they're good players. It's can we harness that for the club, and can he kick us on beyond what we've achieved this season? I think that's probably a conversation for next.
Well, I think we'll do a pod when he's actually confirmed, which will be after the season. I don't think they want to do anything while Jurgen's still here.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
as well, I think.
So that's why I've not really wanted to do like a pod specifically on Slot. I think that time will come and we'll do that, but not while like the season's still going on and Jurgen's still manager. But we will do that. But just quickly to just wrap up on what we were saying there. I mean, all of these players, some of them might not be good enough. We don't know, but all these players who people have got question marks over, it might just take a different tactical setup for them to thrive and shine, and all of a sudden they look completely different. And the doubts then disappear, and I just feel like we don't know what the new tactics might bring out the best in some, it might bring out the worst in others, and they'll be moved on. But I do think like everything's up in the air now, and I think it's a clean slate for everybody. For someone like Carvalho could come back and end up being like a mainstay of the team. There might be like a role in Slot's like ideal formation, what he wants to play. Carvalho might be the one who fits perfectly for that, for all we know. That's what I'm saying. We just do not know about any of this stuff. So they're all good players. Some of them have been helped by the setup that we play. Some of them haven't. I'm thinking Szoboszlai. I don't think he's really been helped too much by like the role he's been playing this season. He's not. I don't think it plays to his strengths really. I was hoping he was going to really develop into it and just kick on, because he started great, but maybe like a complete change of manager, change of system, a new position for him. For all we know, he could end up being like an absolute superstar if he's playing in a different role. I'm open to all of this. I'm not ruling anything out. I think any of it's possible. He may well just stay as he is and be underwhelming. But who knows? We've seen what he can do. We know that there's talent there.
And it's all a little bit tantalising, that, isn't it? It's kind of like, for me, that's what's... I'm starting to come out of the malaise of the last month and a half, because you're starting to think, okay, so we know where our season is finished now. We're third. We've got a trophy. Jurgen's going. We want to give him this respectable send-off. But now, like, I'm starting to think about, my natural position is one of optimism, really. I always want to see the best in things and situations, and consider the upside possibilities of how things might go. And I think that's what's exciting about this change now. As you've said, Dave, and I think I said as well, none of us would have chosen this. But it's happening now. Yeah. It feels like the right time now. You can see why Jurgen's made the decision, so I accept it, not sort of railing against it. Slot on paper seems to tick lots and lots of boxes, albeit with the caveat over it's a big step up in terms of league, club, opposition, etc. But now it's potentially really exciting about what he does with all this raw potential that's there, from a good base. If you're the third best club in the Premier League, and in many ways some of the players are underperforming, and you've got an exciting, fresh new manager coming in, that's a great place to be in, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I don't want to say I'm excited, because that's the wrong word, but
it is the wrong word.
I'm not in any way.
I'm not buzzing about it, but
I'm not underwhelmed or thinking, oh, this is not going to go well. I do feel like once the season's out the way, he's done his first press conference, I do think from there I probably will start to feel excited about it, because it's something new. I think it's something we probably need. I feel like what Klopp said the other day about like he thinks that the players need a new voice. I think it's definitely that they need a new voice, and that's not in any way, shape or form a criticism of Jurgen Klopp at all. It's just, we do need something different now. It's stale's probably not the right word. I don't think it's stale. We've had overall we've had a good season despite the way it's ended. It's been like, it's a good season. We've had lots of things to be encouraged about. But there's loads of room for improvement, and maybe it'll just take like a change to just get everybody reinvigorated, and not so much the fans, more so the players. The fans didn't need to be reinvigorated. We were just made up that we had Klopp. None of us were even thinking about a change or wanting to change. But now that it's happening, I do think, like, from the players' point of view, if there's a bit of complacency crept in with some of them, which there may well be, because after that longer time with the same manager, you maybe do start to feel a little bit comfortable. It's only natural. Yeah. But now, nobody can feel comfortable, because everybody starts from like an equal footing now. They've all got to impress the new manager. I don't care who they are. It doesn't matter like what they've done in their careers like to date. A new manager's coming in now, and he's looking at them with like, it's a new set of eyes that's going to be judging them. It's not like the familiarity and the comfort that they've always had. They'll all be on the toes, and they've all got to step up to impress the new manager. So I think like that should work in our favour, really. So yeah, it's not a situation any of us wanted, but that's the situation we're in. And it may well work out for the best. It may well be a disaster. we don't know, but I do think, like, you know, there's nothing we can do about it. I think you just have to try to be optimistic. There's no point worrying about something turning to shit before it's happened. You know, if it turns to shit, then we'll deal with it then. But I'm not going to be worrying about that now. I'm going to choose to look on the positive side of things.
Possibilities, as Rafa used to say. Possibilities.
Yeah. Anything else to cover from today? Actually, one point I got to make. I don't know whether you'll be aware of this because you were on the cop, so you might not have heard it. The Spurs fans singing "You Lost the League" at Goodison Park. I was cringing for them. I'm like, you fucking losers!
I didn't hear that. No.
You're seriously, you're singing.
I mean, of all the clubs to be,
they were getting battered at the time, and they're singing that. I'm like, that's. But then Spurs are the Everton of North London, aren't they? So
yeah, they are. Yeah.
But yeah, that just made me cringe. I was just embarrassed for them.
I mean, I was embarrassed as you were saying it. Then it's just like, it's so fucking small time, isn't it?
It was the only chant I heard from them, by the way. I never noticed them at all, and then I heard that, and I'm like, what the fuck, really? Just so that's going to be the latest
while you mentioned
Villa will sing that next week because Villa are the fucking kings of the shit banter song.
Banter kings, aren't they? While you mentioned the crowd, flags were really impressive today.
Yeah,
you know, everyone was. It was very. I mean, I left as I always do. Right on. I'm down the stairs the second the final whistle's blown. I won't do that against Wolves. I'll stay for Jurgen. But it was noticeable that fewer people left before the whistle today. I think certainly in the Kop. There was loads of flags. I think I'm trying to think the last time there were that many flags. I think it might have been the semi-final against Barcelona. The last time there were that many flags on the Kop.
No, it was really good. Yeah,
it was. The atmosphere was great.
It was.
The singing was loud.
The Klopp song.
Really and that went on and
even
on and on.
Even singing in the main stand, Paul.
Do you know what? I just wanted him to give us a wave. I wish he'd just given us a wave. Didn't need to make a big deal about it, but just a little.
I was actually wanting them to just start bollocking them just one last time. So shut the fuck up! Stop singing that. I was, just in an ironic way. I know he wouldn't have been serious, but I was wanting them to do that just for a laugh.
Do you know what, Dave? I get the sense that he's not. He's not embarrassed of his emotions. He's very, very supremely self-confident man, and he's very comfortable in his own skin, isn't he? In the best way, really. There's not a hint of arrogance about him. I mean, I think he knows himself really, really well. But I got the feeling, just hearing him answer some questions about, are you thinking about the emotion of it all? There was an element of just protesting a little bit too much. I think he knows there's a bit. I think there was an element of truth as well. I think he, in his mind, he knows he's got kind of like the last game will be Wolves, and that's the one that he knows will be emotional. But I would have liked to see him just give in to that a little bit today, because the season is settled. Really, there's nothing left now. Just give in a little bit to that. I know there was after the game, there was the fist pumping. I could hear it as I was walking away, and all the rest of it. I just want a wave. Would it have killed him to just give us a wave while the game was on? It just would have been, because so many other managers have done that. Great managers have
even
done
Rafa,
that while the game was on.
He's just like, he wouldn't look, but he'd just like lift his hand up a little bit, wouldn't he? Just acknowledge it.
Yeah. It just would have been nice. I'm not knocking him, you know what I mean? It's not a criticism, but it just would have been nice. I'd have enjoyed that. But yeah, the fans were great today, I thought, and in some ways, we turned that on for him. That was for him. That was all. That was for him, because it's not the football that we've been playing or the state that the season's in that provoked that. That was a conscious effort by the fans to really do justice to a truly great manager who's on his way out, and wanting to acknowledge that for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Wolves game's going to be brutal.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that at all.
Yeah, no, it is. It'll be very emotional, I think.
And like when you see the videos of his last game at Dortmund and his last game at Mainz, like, oh shit, we've got that now.
And when he was fully boohooing, the fans are all doing the same.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be like that. It's going to be 60,000 people crying.
Yeah, it's going to be mad.
God. What was I going to say? Did you see that at the interview he done? And he said about coming back as a fan. And he said, and I don't care if the new manager's happy about it or not. He said, I'm going to be in the stands, and I don't really care if the new manager doesn't like it. He said, which I'm sure he'll be fine, but I'm coming anyway. He said, like sometimes managers like stay away. They don't want to tread on the toes of like the new manager, and he's like, no, I'm coming back to watch games from the stands.
Is right.
Yeah,
love that.
All right, we wrap it up then.
Yeah, nice one, mate.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll be back after the Villa game a week on Monday. Yeah, so only 2 games left now, and then it's all over. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you soon.
Well, the best word I can say, but will describe this was boom. Woo! What was this? It was really good.